This story begins where many others generally end. At the time, I worked for a detective agency known as HPD, but I couldn't know then what the acronym really meant. I don't think I ever really knew. For a few months, I'd been on the trail of the man the press not very originally renamed Blowtorch. A clue led me to the extreme outskirts of Miami, in a little out-of-the-way suburb that smelled like rotten fish.
Operator, the caller you have dialed is unavailable. Do you want to leave a message?
Bundy, knock it off. Judging from the traffic noise, I'd say you disobeyed my orders.
Hey, I just went out for a ride on my bike. What's the harm?
At 10 in the evening, I told you to stay home. The case is ours. We're already racing to the scene of the tip-off.
But the cavalry's already here, boss. Let me find one of those clues that Blowtorch left for me, and we will stop the next murder before you even divorce your third wife.
I'm on my fourth, Bundy, and I will never understand why that killer keeps leaving clues just for you.
Do you need to ask? Because I'm his archenemy, his nemesis, his worst nightmare.
More like he enjoys leaving you every time grasping a handful of air.
Oh yeah. Remind me again, old man. Who stopped the Puerto Rican surgeon and the arsonist of the southeast coast? And what about the...
All old news, Bundy. You haven't caught a break for a long time, and for months you've been following Blowtorch without any results. Why don't you go on holiday and let us do the work?
I'm in Miami, dude. Working here is a holiday.
I'm serious, Lars. Give it up.
Listen, boss. I will limit myself to a stealth approach. Identify the victim's flat. I write everything down. I smoke a cigarette. I admire the skyline. I wait for reinforcements. No shootout planned.
That would be difficult, since you never carry a gun with you.
Well, once a chick told me that the weapon at my side makes me clumsy.
Don't cause any shit, Bundy. We'll be there in a short while.
Okay. That means I have a short while to solve this case.
What did you say?
Nothing.
Bundy, don't screw things up, or I swear...
At previous crime scenes, we always found a letter addressed to me, abandoned in the mailboxes. This time, maybe, I would be able to find that letter before the crime was committed. But I had to hurry. A horrible antique coin eater. Maybe there was still something useful in Green Dart's flask. Normally I would have filled it with scotch, but I didn't want to find myself in Orlando investigating a red whale again. Like last time. Hey, there really was some scotch after all. Scotch tape, I mean. I looked at the various mailboxes and found what I was looking for. An abandoned envelope with no writing or stamps. The only problem remaining was how to open the mailbox. Maybe using something thin for leverage. I thought it was better to look for another solution. My badge wasn't exactly the right tool to wedge this open with, but it was worth a try. The only thing I accomplished was jamming the badge into the narrow crack above the mailbox. The badge was so jammed that it didn't move an inch. Was it really worth it? I didn't understand how that could possibly help me. Sometimes, My obsession with using random items didn't lead anywhere. Maybe. Someone left a stupid smiley on the intercom. I couldn't buzz the whole building without a clue. I love making prank calls, but this really wasn't the right moment. A telephone number erased unceremoniously. It was surely the joke of some happy-go-lucky prankster. I thought it was better to look for another solution. It wouldn't help me in any way. I couldn't buzz the whole building without a clue. It wasn't possible to open it from the outside. I would have to look for an alternative way in. I didn't need to make the ladder come down. The alley led around the building to the right. Before examining the area, though, I had to make sure I was in the right place. That stuff tasted like chewing gum stuck under a desk for a month. I know that because at school I never had the money for snacks, so I picked up those. Now the mailbox was marked by my badge, hopelessly jammed. As much as I loved wandering around on green dart in the middle of the night, I had work to do. There was nothing else in the flask. An antique and horrible coin eater. An antique and... I couldn't buzz the whole building. I couldn't buzz the whole building. I couldn't buzz. I couldn't buzz. I could use it to establish the alleged stupidity of J.J. Irham, but nothing else. I love making prank calls, but it wouldn't help me in any way. The name on the... No matter how... Sometimes... Sometimes... Maybe. The name on the... Was it really worth... In that moment... The ladder was too high for me to reach it, and that kind of model, I couldn't even see it. Now, the badge was so... Maybe. The alley led around before examining the area. That stuff tasted like chewing gum. I know that. Maybe. Maybe. As always, by that time, I only had a game. I was complete rubbish. I didn't need to set the alarm. I didn't need to set the... Here's what the taxpayers' money was being used for. The conditions of that sidewalk were getting worse. A stone bigger than the others just fell off the sidewalk. And who was I not to accept the kind gifts from Providence? The way it was stuck, the badge would act as a chisel. As usual, the letter was ripped and written with invisible ink. With Scotch tape, I would be able to easily reassemble it. Well, I'd have to think about the invisible ink later. I would have stuck the Scotch tape in the back of the letter, so as to obtain the best readability. I always hated puzzles. If I have to waste time on this... I hate this stuff. Once I received a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle as a present. I sold it to my nephew. It wasn't as difficult as I feared. At that point, I just had to find a way to read the message hidden in the letter. Well, I remembered that to reveal invisible ink, you just have to warm it. Where could I find a source of heat that late at night? The vending machine's engine emitted a faint heat, maybe intense enough to show the hidden writing on the letter. At first, nothing happened. I was about to give up when it happened. The first characters appeared. The letter corresponded in every way with the ones found before. Supportive tone, an apparent desire to support the police force, then laced with a sudden temper tantrum hinting at a killing frenzy. I had to dig into this, looking for clues. The letters were always kindly addressed to me. Blowtorch's tone ranged from disappointment to encouragement, with a barely concealed desire for recognition. The forensic guys had no doubt about the gender of the killer just after the first murder. The reason for their certainty wasn't the accuracy of the burns, so much as the various bruises found on the bodies, which displayed extraordinary force. The usual outburst in the middle of a letter that until then seemed thoughtful and balanced. Then I saw the emoticon at the end of the paragraph. That was new. I guess Blowtorch tried to be funny at times, the only result being to appear even creepier. The last paragraph was surely hiding a clue. The murderer was even directing us to a specific profession. The initials in the last paragraph were found in the previous letter, but they were too vague a clue to narrow down the scope of the investigation. The usual closing format. Blowtorch constantly described himself as a normal citizen and a regular taxpayer. I don't know why, but that format made me mad. That face. In his earlier letters, Blowtorch never left anything similar. I took a mental note. That smile left on the letter and the one on the intercom were identical, so I could rule out a simple coincidence. I had just identified the apartment I was looking for. The apartment was registered to a certain G. Glover. I hoped I got there in time.
Who is it?
I'm Detective Bundy from HPD. If you don't mind, I need to ask you some questions. He didn't answer immediately. Moments of total silence passed, during which I thought he had hung up.
Sorry for the hesitation, but I really don't understand what you would want from me. I'm just a normal citizen who...
Yes, of course, but I really need, and I mean really need, to talk to you. With a certain urgency, too. Can you open the front door?
I hate to be a killjoy, but you have a warrant. I don't want to get into trouble with my landlord.
You know what? I guess I forgot it in my other hand. Anyway, I already told you that...
Listen, the landlord is a real pain in the ass, and I don't want any trouble.
If it's such a big deal, you won't have any problem coming back with a warrant. Good night. In my entire career, I had never been mistreated like that by someone I had to protect. Despite the fact that the guy was an idiot, I couldn't let him be killed in cold blood. Besides the front door, the only visible way in seemed to be the fire escape above. That ladder would have been the perfect way in, but it was too far. That ladder would make a perfect way in. The stone was ideal for hitting the ladder's security lock. The problem was that I couldn't see it from my position. The stone was ideal for hitting. The problem was... Better think about it. In that moment, it didn't seem to be a good solution to me. I was all out of ideas. I didn't understand how that could possibly help me. Maybe in that alley, I would... It didn't seem so high from the street. In that moment, I thought of the hundreds of baseball games I'd seen while living in America, and I had a real moment of epiphany. The greatest champions in history were looking at me from the sky, cheering for me and waving their arms. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the newest member of the Baseball Hall of Fame, Lazarus Stonearm Bundy! Give it up for the only, the incomparable, Lazarus Bundy!
Lazarus Bundy in my place. Who'd have thought it?
Here's my man. All 7'5" of a man, to be exact. Well, so much the better. If things got out of hand, he could protect me.
Lazarus Bundy, what are you doing? I still had some surprises in store for you. Instead, it's already time to put an end to our game.
Just then, I knew I misunderstood the whole situation.
Not a word.
Things went down dramatically. I had no gun, as always, and I had to deal with a mastodon ready to kill his next victim. Burton would surely arrive with backup shortly after. But, how shortly? Moreover, we were convinced we had to protect the man who instead just revealed himself to be the monster we were hunting. I thought of sending a text to warn him, but I had no credit on my phone, having accidentally subscribed to a live weather service. I was in more danger than ever. But at least I knew the weather was fine in Baltimore. One thing was for sure. I couldn't wait anymore.
No. No, Cabran.
With bare hands, I would barely be able to tickle
No,
him.
Cabran.
That beast towered over me, but a bottle in the right spot would put anyone to sleep. I had to hold my breath. The slightest noise would betray me.
Yes.
Never mind.
Yes. What the fuck? Could be. No. I told you to close that sewer hole, you slut! If I hear even one more whisper, I'll be forced to use more brutal methods than usual. Is that clear? No.
Freeing the girl was going to be way more difficult than that. Trying to use the lamp as a makeshift weapon would have meant walking the entire length of the room twice. If I wanted to die, I could have found a more glorious method, such as jumping out naked after drawing a target on my chest. I started to come up with something, but I couldn't completely focus.
Yes. No. No.
I just have gone from the frying pan into the fire. Change the channel, right now? I wanted to see how the movie ended.
Impossible.
I just have gone from the frying pan.
Yes.
In that moment,
Yes.
it didn't seem to... I started to come up with something.
No.
Trying to use the lamp as a makeshift weapon would have meant walking the entire length of the room twice.
No.
If I wanted to die, I could have found a more glorious method, such as jumping out naked after drawing a target on my chest.
No.
I just have gone from the front. Freeing the girl was going to be... With bare hands, I would barely be able...
Could be. Impossible.
Showing her my badge would have been pointless. Better think about it.
Yes.
Was it really worth it? For a moment, and a moment only,
No.
I thought about how things might have gone if I didn't feel an unspeakable hatred of firearms.
Could be. Could be. No. Yes.
That would have been a fitting ending for sure. Sometimes my mind floated and envisioned the most absurd situations.
No.
A strong show of authoritative force would have pushed him to withdraw. Or maybe it would have led to a beating.
Yes.
I'd fantasized enough for one night. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see a good reason to do that.
Same place. No.
He already had his own, and I thought maybe I could use the mobile phone to lure Blowtorch into the storage room. But how? Was it really worth it? No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see. I thought it was better to look for another solution.
No. Could
I
be.
didn't understand how that.
No.
I was all out.
No. Impossible. Yes.
Breaking his TV would have been ecstasy, but not enough to put my neck on the line. I started to come up with something. In that moment, maybe,
Same place.
I thought it was better to look for. I thought it was better trying to use the lamp as I wanted to die. I thought it was better to.
Same place. No, Cabran.
With bare hands.
No.
I didn't. I thought maybe I could.
Could be.
I didn't. He already had his own, and
No, Cabran. Impossible. Yes.
was it real? He left the storage room open.
Yes.
Change the channel right now.
Yes.
Breaking his.
Same
Bet-
place.
I thought it was better to look for. Showing her my bad. Showing her my. She was gagged and strung up like a. But above.
Place.
I thought it was better to look. I thought
Could be.
he already had his own. The beast was busy. All he did.
No.
With bare hand.
No.
With bare hand. Trying to use the lamp as a makeshift weapon. If I wanted to die, I could. Maybe.
Impossible.
A strong show of authority. Or. A strong show of authority.
Yes.
As always, by that time, I only had a game. I was complete rubbish at. I had a pretty good idea of how to distract the threatening big guy.
No, Cabran.
He already had his own, and
Could be.
I was all out. I was desperate and in dire straits. I could do nothing but go for broke.
Could be. Look what you made me do, slut. First, I need to recover that damn phone that I still don't know how you managed to keep from me. Then, we'll settle up.
Freeing the girl was going to be way more difficult than that. Maybe. Or maybe not.
What the fuck?
Stay calm. I'll get you out of here in a split second. Hurry! Run! I'll hold him.
blowtorch case didn't go as I'd hoped. Instead of the savior, I found myself impersonating the damsel in distress. Luckily, Burton came just in time to get me out of the doghouse. In contrast to his usual MO, Blowtorch was about to take my head off with his bare hands. The signs on my neck would take weeks to disappear completely. I got suspended from the service indefinitely, obviously, and I would soon discover that sitting on my hands would never be a part of my life again. I found the Miami Harbinger under my door, as I had every day since I'd subscribed to their delivery service. I immediately saw the blurb on the front page. Blowtorch had been identified as David Ramos, an ordinary man who made a living working as a plumber. The initials, the plumbing job, everything matched the information found in the letters. That crazy guy had given us, little by little, his complete identikit.